This is Ivy Unleashed, a Gold Ivy production.
I think it's so powerful that you talk about mindset, because obviously on this podcast, that's what everything comes back to. It has to start with the mind. And when you work with a coach or a mentor, to your point, yes, they're giving you the step-by-step guide, but they've also developed that mindset that it takes. And until you've done it, you don't know what that mindset is. You don't know how to talk yourself off that ledge when you want to eat the food or you want to just stay in bed. You need that push of, here's how I did it, and hold my hand, I got you. But I'm sure in those moments for you, as your mindset is still shifting, you're working with that coach, what did they have you do to continue tweaking that mindset? Because, now you're at this point where, I'm moving towards things versus away from things, but it wasn't always that way as you did the 12-step program. So for someone who, is still in that beginner zone where their mindset isn't right, what were those things that you did to help craft that mindset that you have today?
Well, I think you have to be in relationships that are courageous. Mm-hmm. You have to be with somebody who's willing to say the hard things to you because they love you so much they don't want to let you keep falling back into the same trap. And our mindset is, our minds and the way we think about things are like thermostats on a wall. This is a perfect timing of this. The thermostat in my car, my van, went out, and we're in Minnesota. And you can't deal with all that. What's crazy is when it goes out, you would think the engine would overheat, but it doesn't. It actually drops the other way and it runs cold. And the car never heats up. You can't get hot air. My kids, I drive them back and forth to swim. They're like, Dad, this has got to change. But the problem is that the thermostat is buried deep inside the engine. And it's a pain to get to. And if I hired somebody to do that, it would cost a fortune just on labor. But this little bitty thermostat regulates so much. And you have to dump you have to drain the radiator. So you have to get rid of all the coolant, and then take all these parts and then replace it. And it's such a small thing, but it's hard to get to. But I have a friend who's in my small group, and he said, hey, let's do it together. And we took an afternoon and we did it, and we finally got it replaced. And then we had to start filling up the radiator again, and he didn't want to take it. It creates air bubbles. So then we're driving around, and it was the gauge is spiking, and we're like, oh, I'm going to burn the engine up. Oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden the air would pop and it would drop back down normal, but it wouldn't blow hot air until we got all the air bubbles out. Then it finally started to work and the heat started to come back. And you would think coolant doesn't create heat, but it's that flow through the whole engine that heats it up. And so we had to get to the heart of the thermostat. I think that a lot of people have a thermostat that's buried deep inside of them through their experiences, hurts, habits, and hang-ups. We've just believed this is the way we're always going to be. Mm-hmm. I just assumed, hey, like I'm big boned, and listen, I think we've all said that, but I got a lot of meat wrapped around those big bones, right? And the truth is I've actually had my body scanned, and my bones aren't really that much bigger, to be honest. I'm taller, they're longer, but they're not like, whoa, dinosaur bones inside Joe. It's like, that's why it's so heavy. Bones are not as heavy as you think, right? And I believed it. I was the fat kid. I'm going to be the fat adult. I'm going to be the guy that's funny and fat, and that's just my identity.
Identity. There's the word. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was convinced that's who I was. And so I've just played the part. And what I needed to do was, one, recognize, like, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I there's three things going on with me. One, you need to learn, you need to burn, and you need to return. Okay, that's what I believe is the process. One, you got to learn not just about weight loss, but you got to learn who you are. For me, I believe my identity is found in Christ. And when I look at it, he has a few things to say about living in excess. The thing is, as a pastor, I'm just going to say it. Like, I know there are pastors that wouldn't say this. They say, oh, you should never have a drink. Listen, I don't believe that. In Scripture, Jesus changed water to wine. Okay, so I don't tear out the parts that I don't personally like. But here's the thing: the question is not, do you have a drink? The question is, does the drink have you?
Ooh.
Now, here's the thing. It tells you in the Bible to eat, but it says don't do anything in excess. So are you having a Twinkie or does the Twinkie have you? You know, like maybe you shouldn't go to a buffet, right? It doesn't say don't eat. It just says like, don't go overboard. You know, don't let the thing you consume you. And so that was the journey for me to figure out, one, I needed to learn my identity. And the thing is, I would say that God has me in a position where he wants me to be healthy. And I don't know exactly what the weight is, but I do know that it's more of a measurement of what I can do in the activities and walking my kid down the aisle and being there for my family. That's more important than looking good in jeans. And because I've not looked good in jeans for a long time. And it didn't stop me.
They're overrated anyway.
Yeah. But a lot of times it's like, man, if I could preach in stretchy pants, I'd have done it. But the second part is, okay, there's learn and then there's burn. And you would say, oh yeah, burn calories. Nope. Burn with a passion. That's that whole idea that if you can't say yes to something bigger, you're not going to do it. And you've got to burn with a passion. So what is it that drives you? Like I realized for me, I was eating for probably 3 people for a really long time. And so I still eat for 2 or 3 people. I just don't eat all of it myself. And here's what I mean. So my family, you know, like we have kids in Compassion International. And so we send money every month to feed kids that can't eat because they're in places where they can't afford to get the food or they don't have it. And so I'm still eating for 2 or 3 people. I'm just not eating all of it myself. And so by having the picture of those kids in front of me, all of a sudden I go, well, you know, Javier needs to eat more than I need to eat. And as a dad, I would want my kids to eat before me. And so why not? Why not kind of adopt this international kid and care for them? So I think you got to burn with a passion. What drives you? If you're selfless, like think about what you're passionate about for other people more than yourself, and then you kind of get out of your way. Because if you think, oh, it's just about me and I want to look good and blah, 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 you'll talk yourself out of it and go back to, no, keep doing what I'm doing. And you're the person who is putting the mask on everybody else and you're going down on a plane. And what's sad is the plane doesn't crash, but you do. And so that's the second one. But the third one is, so it's learn who you are and who you're made to be and burn with a passion, but then return. Okay. And it's return the favor to somebody else. If you can't learn from this and give it to someone else, then I don't think you're fully learning the lesson. Like that's the beauty of humanity, that God created us in a way that my problem, my struggle can be my greatest ministry. That I don't have to just be a person who went through a difficult thing, but I can be a person who came out on the other side and found hope. And there's a lot of people that are at the end of their rope, and what they need is somebody that shows up and says, but there's hope. Like, you ever seen that hope experiment on the internet? Like, this is super weird and random, and you guys are going to be like, this dude's strange. But they did this deal where at Harvard where they had these rats, and they put them in water. And they had wild rats and they had domesticated rats, and they just want to see what the difference was. So they all swam for about 15 minutes. They gave up and they died, which is sad. Okay. But then they did it again. And this time they let one of them just swim and they ran out. But then the domesticated rats, what they did was at 15 minutes when they were about tired, they picked them up, took them out, dried them off, let them rest for a minute, put them back in. They swam for 40 to 60 hours and didn't give up because they had hope that somebody was going to save them. Think about that. Think about that.
Mindset of a rat.
Yeah, I mean,
hope is a mindset, right?
Hope. What that study proves is that hope has an impact on our physiology.
Yeah,
it's not just a spiritual thing. It is a research-based truth that hope causes us to endure. The Bible says this: that hope deferred causes the heart to get sick. Now think about this. How many of us have been the rat who was like, yeah, I'm just trying to survive. Like, I think we set our annual goals and our resolutions based on things we want to do, but more importantly, things we know deep down we have to do. Like nobody says, well, this year I want to lose weight because I'm vain. No, I need to lose the weight because I know I don't feel right. Yeah. But then the reason why we give up at day 15 is that that's our 15 minutes where we didn't have hope. And if somebody would come along and pick us up and say, you're not in it by yourself, I think we could keep going for 15 more days, 20 more days, 100 more days, a year, a couple of years, and we come out on the other side. And because we've experienced that hope and that help along the way, we can give that to somebody else, and I think it would transform us. That's how powerful hope is. And I just didn't have hope. Like, I'm a hope dealer. I preach, but I give everybody else hope, but I wouldn't receive it myself. And I think there's a lot of us that we give and we give and we give and we give, and we don't allow anybody else to pour into our lives. And I think that we need that. And that's why I'm thankful for your podcast, and I'm thankful for you. And I'm thankful that there are people that are listening, because I hope this is the moment where you got a dose of hope. Oh. And it doesn't have to stay the same.
And it's from so many different angles. Like, as you're speaking, what I'm hearing you say is you have accountability, you have mindset work from multiple different mentors. Yeah. You have things in your path, like your whys. You've mentioned like 4, right? Your baby girl, swimming with your boys, even just swimming. This has been a dream of yours. Like, you have multiple things pulling you, and you're relying on all of these. And so for those listening, know, like, it takes power. And it takes having multiple things to pull you and to constantly revisiting these things. Like, I'm sure this is for you an hourly conversation you have with yourself, with other people, like, to keep going. I think of Ed Milet, and he talks about the power of one more. And for his dad, who was an addict, it was, I'm just going to be sober one more day. One more, and sometimes for me in my journey, it was one more hour. So when you have those days, like you talk about day 15, where you don't have the hope, how did you get through that day?
Wait, say that one more time. The when I didn't have hope, how did I get through those days?
Yeah.
I didn't, because I was still going to Taco Bell. I mean, that's the reality. I was coping. I was letting food do the work that was robbing me of the hope in the future that I believed that I needed. In recovery, I have a friend, he's a mentor of mine, and very successful in business, very successful in ministry. And I actually changed a plane flight one time to get back to the meeting where I knew he was speaking, and he was going to receive a chip for multiple decades of being sober. And the most powerful thing that I saw him do was receive this honor in front of all these people that are on the journey. And then he reached in his pocket and he got the 24-hour chip out. And he said, for over 2 decades, I have carried this 24-hour chip in my pocket as a reminder that it's about today. It's about today. And I can't do anything about yesterday, and I can't control tomorrow, but I can do something today. But the big mistake I think that I made for so long is I tried to do today by myself. And the power is not in ourselves. The power is, I believe, with God and others in our life, because God never intended for us to do it alone. In the Bible, I'm going to go philosophical, theological on you for a second, but here's the thing. There was a problem that existed in the Bible before sin entered into the world. Genesis 3 is where sin entered the world. Genesis 2 is where a problem happened. Like, Adam was on the planet. God created Adam, this man, and said, you have access to everything. It's like you get to name everything. He got naming rights on the animals. That's pretty legit. Like we built something, a church one time, and they didn't even give us naming rights on the street that came into our building. This dude got to name everything. Aardvark, not really sure what's going on there, but okay. Got lazy on dog, but whatever. But he got to name it, and everything was cool. I mean, this dude was so fit, he didn't wear clothes. And felt no shame. He was like, bro, Like, I am like ripped, son. You know, I mean, he just had it all. And in Genesis 2, God says it's not good for him to be alone. That's the problem that exists. Like, that's why I call BS on people when they say, well, I don't need to be a part of organized religion or be a part of a community of faith. I'm like, well, if that was true, then you wouldn't be here. Because Adam would still be the only person, and as far as I know, he'd still be alive, and everything would be cool. But humanity comes into play, and we have a lot of people now, but we struggle with this internal thing that's called sin. And really, sin is at the heart of selfishness. It's about my way instead of others. And the very middle letter of sin is I. You know, so I look at that and I go, it's not good for us to be alone. God, I think, wants a relationship that goes, you know, up and down with him, but side by side with other people. And I think that who we surround ourselves with affects our mindset. You know, birds of a feather flock together. And the thing is, you know, if you don't have the right mindset, the eagles will fly and the turkeys will stick around. And we find ourselves surrounded by people that maybe say, well, it's okay to just not have dreams, and it's okay not to, or just accept who you are and be done with it. I think the journey is that we get to change. And I want to surround myself with people that believe change is possible and that things can get better. And it's not that I change overnight, but it's change every night. You know, get the rest you need, get the mindset you need. Surround yourself with people who say, I can, we can, not I can't. And worse, here's the thing. I think that even though I live a very public life, the greatest mistake I made was living an isolated life. And what I mean by that is I think that we have things that are secret. And a friend of mine who's a pastor, he says, you know, you're only as sick as your secrets. And secretly, I would not look in a mirror. Secretly, I didn't want to go to the doctor. Secretly, I'd never take a measurement on how I was doing because I just didn't want the bad news. I thought if I hear bad news, then that's who I am. And it's not. It's just, it's not who I am. It's where I am. And the good news is you don't have to stay where you are. And so there's the hope, I think, that comes into it. It's going to require courage. It's going to require taking a step and doing some hard things. But here's the thing. Things will get better. They can get better. And the first thing you try, I tried 15 different things. And the first 15 didn't work, but the 16th did. And you know what? There's a 17th thing that's going to help me go to the next level, you know, when I start training for swimming long distances. So you got to keep trying. I think that's the key.
I'm just so happy that you're with us because I think that's what the world needs is hope. And it, like you said, when it's something secret that you're holding and hiding, having the thought that it's consuming you and nobody can see it, I think that's so powerful because we have to take care of those things. We have to know that there's hope on the other side, that we can change, that there is hope that we will be okay if we face the music, if we face the monster. And so I'm so happy you're talking about that because everybody has it. Everybody has struggles and conflicts and things they don't want to face, and that they're going to be okay as long as they're not alone. And so thank you for everything that you're saying. I'm so happy we get to share you with the world because at this point, 70 countries are tuning in.
Wow.
All over the world. And we want them to be able to have access to you. Your sermons are unbelievable, as I'm sure they know now. But can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Sure. There's a couple of ways that you can find me. The first one is on the website of our church. It's findgrace.com. You can find Grace there. And when you go there, you select Sundays and the messages are underneath that Sunday button. And so you can watch. We have messages that go back a couple of years. So you can catch up on what's going on. You can also join us 9 and 10:30 on live stream on Sundays. That's Central Time, depending on where you are in the world. And we have people all over the world that are watching online with us. And so love to invite you to participate in that. On a personal note, through social, Facebook, I'm / Joe Boyd Live. And so you can interact with me there. If you want to send me a direct message or something, through Messenger, I'm happy to field those. I do get quite a few, but I take them as they come in. And especially if you're a pastor and struggling with this challenge, I'm looking for people that I can invest in. And don't feel like you're a burden, because I want you to know, like, you're helping me, because if I don't help other people, my recovery is going to be in jeopardy. And so I want to work with pastors, or any Christian leader or any business leader that's got staff or people that they're responsible for. Listen, I'd love to help. I really want to help. And so that's a big one for me. You could probably find me some other ways, but those are probably the two easiest ways. And if you want to email me through the church website, that my information's there, you could do that as well. So, but those are the easiest ways probably for people to connect.
We will plug all that information in our show notes, on our socials, so you'll be able to find it. And something I just want to call it that you said was, you're not a burden. So many people, I feel like, don't want to ask for help because they feel like a burden. People want to help.
Yeah.
Find people, surround yourself with people who want to help.
Yeah, because the people that help other people, their why is not themselves, their why is other people. And so you're actually robbing people of a blessing by staying isolated and thinking, oh, I can't, they're too busy or whatever. Listen, every leader I know is busy, but they make time for what's important to them. And so don't rob them of the opportunity to do what they believe they're called to do. And I think that's really critical. I struggled to call my sponsor because I just thought, oh, he didn't want to hear that. No, he really did. And he got mad whenever I didn't call. And when I did call, it would boost him and it would help me not make bad decisions. So it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And if you feel like you don't have those people, you do now. You know how to reach us. We are always here. You are not alone. And the first step, really what I'm hearing you say, is that radical honesty of where are you at? Like, if you're not ready to reach out, maybe you need to sit in a space with your journal and just get real and raw with what you're going through, where you are, what you need help with.
What people don't know that you struggle with. Put it on paper first, maybe. Maybe that's the first step.
Yeah, I think until you can be honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with anyone else. Unless you surround yourself with people who will ask very direct questions that you're not even aware you're not asking. I think that's really critical, is to be in an environment where you're being challenged to not stay complacent. The thing is, we can all sit on the couch or the lazy boys of our life and just passively avoid seeing change in our life. Like, it doesn't take much to just watch TV or Netflix or whatever, and you go, where did the time pass? Social media, do you know that the average person spends enough time on social media every day that if you add that up over the course of a year, an average person, it would take 30, 21, 24-hour days in a year. Like, you think you don't have time for vacation? You gave it up to social media. You think you don't have time to make a change or go to the gym? You're giving it up to social media. Passively watching other people do something with their lives so that you can feel good about not doing something with your life? No, that doesn't work. And that was the wake-up call for me, that I got to quit wasting my time.
I love that so much. We always talk about time. We always talk about using time, and not to like scare people, but it's limited. It will run out.
Yeah.
And how do you want to spend it? And so everything you're saying is just right up our alley, and it's so good. And one of the things that we like to do on the show is to share 3 gold stars. We like to give people 3 tangible steps that, maybe one of them will speak to them. Maybe not right now, maybe when they're ready. But if you were to give your 3 gold stars to our listeners, what would you say?
I think it boils down to those 3 things that made a difference. Number 1 is learn. What is it that you don't know that you need to know that's the wake-up call? When do the lights come on? When do you realize that the thermostat of your life is off, that you've accepted this is the way I am? I think you've got to learn who you are, your identity, not who you are right now, but who you're meant to be. I think that's number 1. And I think that until you're willing to learn where you are, go get the test that you need. See the doctor. Go to that recovery meeting that you've been saying, no, I'm not going to do. Go to church for the first time. I get it. People get hurt by past experiences, but don't let somebody who hurt you in the past rob you of the relationship in the future that you could have with a different situation. And so the first one is that learn. Number 2 is burn. Burn with a passion. The thing is, I think a lot of people are burning out because they're not burning with a passion. What's interesting is the thermostat in my car I was talking about, when the thermostat goes out, you burn more fuel than when it's working. And I think that there's a lot of us that are spinning our wheels, and it's costing us more time and energy just to do the basic things in our life. And we're robbing ourselves of the things that we feel called to do, empowered to do, that are the dreams that would set us apart. And so just having your system regulated makes a big difference, and you burn more efficiently, and you burn more brightly, and you burn more completely. And so I think it's important to burn with a passion. And really for a lot of us, that's to help other people. But I think that you've got to discover what your passions are, because you're never going to say yes to something bigger, or you won't say no to the things you settle for now until you say yes to something bigger. The third one is return the favor. And I think that's so critical that in the Bible, in Luke 4:60, it says, no one is above the teacher, but a fully trained student will be like their teacher. And what that tells me is it's a picture of Jesus in saying, listen, you're not going to be above me, but you can be just like me. And just interesting fact, when you measure out all the places and recorded the 3 years that Jesus was, 30 to 33 before he died on the cross, if you just track where he walked about 10,000 steps a day. And what do they tell us today? 10,000 steps a day makes all the difference, right?
Wild. And Brooke's doing that right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, the thing is, it's like everybody's been sampling and taking a bite off of what Jesus has been doing for a long time. And so maybe go back to the ancient things to find out that your future's found there. But to really get at it, to return the favor is that like get a twofer out of the deal. Don't just do it for you, do it for other people too. Do it so that your family benefits, or your friends or the people in your life benefit, but benefit people that you don't even know yet, that you can help them find the way. It's not that we're better than anyone else when we overcome a challenge. It's that we're better off. And we want to share that with other people because deep down, you probably wanted somebody to do that for you. And that's the golden rule: do unto others what you wish people would do for you. I mean, go Jesus. That was a good one. And it applies in business, and it applies in everything in the world. So those would be my three big takeaways. Learn who you are and your identity. Don't do it by yourself. Learn you're not alone. Burn with a passion, and run with a team of other people that have gone before you. And then just the last one is return the favor. You've been poured into, pour out into others. And I think that when your cup gets full and running over, that is what you can offer to other people, because they don't want that half empty, half full life. They want a running over life. And you can't have that without doing the first two.
Mm-hmm. You have so much to give because you have filled yourself up so much.
Well, and I've been filled up by God and other people. So, I mean, listen, I'm like my ministry, like when I preach, it's just an overflow of my daily walk with God and other people. And so I think that the more we get filled up, the less consumed we are with our worry, and the more we're pouring out to help people. And so that's it.
Beautiful.
Oh, love it.
Well, we have some more questions for you.
All right, let's go.
We have our rapid fire questions.
Here we go.
Unleashing ivy. We believe that ivy grows in hard places, and gold, you shine light on that ivy and it takes the power away. We learn from the hard truth.
My question, and I always do this, is I am really fascinated with family units, childhood, and how it creates who you are. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious about what you feel like kind of led to this health journey of overeating and going through all of this. Like as a child, I don't know whether like what you kind of feel like created this health journey, or if you think it was part of it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think deep down, we're all affected by things from our past, and I wouldn't say that everybody who experiences a trauma or a decline in their life happens as a kid, All my kids are adopted. And so we've done a lot of foster care and adoption training. And what they say is that there's not a kid in foster care or a kid that hasn't been adopted that hasn't experienced trauma. They may not be able to articulate what it was or the triggering moment, but everybody experiences trauma. I tend to believe as a pastor that a lot of people, most people have experienced some sort of trauma in their life. They're just not aware of it. I think for me, I spent a lot of time alone as a kid. I was the youngest kid in my neighborhood. And I think that tended towards isolation. I also, self-assurance is probably my number one strength in a strength finder test. And so I have a tendency to allow my greatest strength to ultimately become my kryptonite. And if I think if it's ever going to be, it's up to me, then that's partially true. But the problem is that if you do it alone, you're destined to fail because loneliness is not sustainable, and doing things by yourself is not good. And even God said that it's not good for people to be alone, and I think that's really true. So I would say that I had a lot of isolation, and I think deep down somewhere in there, maybe it was part of our family dynamics. I mean, I had a dad who was a salesman, traveled. He was gone for 2 weeks at a time. And so I sort of grew up with this thing that we didn't talk about things. We didn't want people to know that my dad was gone so that our family could be safe. And I think what was a healthy protection became an unhealthy habit. And so I just didn't talk about things. I played with the cards close to the vest, and I wouldn't talk about things that other people might benefit from knowing in my life. And so I lived a life where I could listen. You can listen to everybody else's problems, and they might not ever ask you anything about you. And so I just never shared. And I think that the challenge I faced was somewhere I developed an unhealthy habit that my greatest secrets became my greatest illness. Along the way. And so I think that the thing I've learned is be open, start sharing with people that can help you. Some people can hurt you, so you got to be careful on who you share with. But when you surround yourself with people who have good intent and the ability to help, you stop trying to deal with your problem and you start training to overcome it. And that's the difference.
Love that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's powerful and very helpful.
So many people grow up in homes where they don't talk about feelings. So many, like almost all of my friends. So it's powerful to know how it can transpire into something completely different. But yeah, start talking.
You saying the power of finding a safe place where you can speak with. Like a lot of people don't have that, but that is something that you can create. You can create a network through finding, hobbies or interests or going to churches, just getting out of your own way and involving yourself in other circles so you can find those people that will lift you up.
Yeah, in the business world, for the people watching around the world that are business people, you've heard the statement, show me your network and I'll show you your net worth, right? In the pastoral world, I would say it this way, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? So the people that you surround yourself with, that you're really truly friends with, where you could say anything and it's okay. That's where the power happens. Because we don't need people that are friendly in our life. We need friends in our life that will say the hard things because they love us. That's what's so critical. And so few people find it.
Yeah. As a friend, how do you have those hard conversations where, you want to give them the love, you want to give them the hard truth, but you're afraid they might not take it the way you intend it to be taken?
I think it has a lot to do with posture and purpose. The posture part is, am I approaching this because I want to say something that's going to hurt you, or am I willing to say something that would hurt you because I want to help you? I have a son who's had 17 surgeries, and every time that he's gone through a surgery, they've had to break something, cut something. He's gone through some recovery. I went through a significant surgery and I didn't bounce right back. But here's the thing, that doctor's posture is that I'm going to break something or change something in you that's going to hurt, but I'm doing it because I want to help. And the thing is, I think we get wounded all the time with people that aren't equipped or have the right posture to help us. I mean, people grow up hurting people, hurt people. And so we experience trauma and pain in our life. But if we have somebody who will say something hard to us because they love us, then that's a pill we can swallow better. But the second part is the purpose. What's the purpose behind saying this? If you know, I heard Penn Jillette, who's the comedian, and they do magic out in Vegas. He's an atheist, and he said there was this man who gave him a Bible and said, "I care about you." And then he said this in a video. You can find it on YouTube. It's a powerful thing. He said, if you really believe there's a God, and you believe that there's a heaven and a hell, and people that don't know God are going there, how bad do you have to hate somebody to not say it? He said, that's like if you saw a truck barreling down the road and this person was unaware, how bad do you have to hate them to not yell, get out of the way, or run and push them out of the way? And so I think about that, like the purpose is my desire for comfort and avoiding conflict greater than the purpose of helping somebody get out of their way or avoid something that is going to cause them to have this train wreck. Because if we go back to the illustration, I think there's a lot of people in the danger zone and they don't know they're there. And if somebody doesn't say it, they're going to end up on the news or have a moral failure, or they're going to have a divorce, or they're going to have this burnout moment. And they're going to come to the end of that, and they're going to go down in flames, and then they're going to really feel alone. And the question that's going to come through their mind is, why didn't anybody care enough to say something? And so I think that that's the thing. You have to have a right posture, that I love you, and frame it that way. We're too good of friends. I can't imagine not having you around longer, or I can't imagine you struggling for as hard and long as you have and things not getting better. And you may not even be the person who can help. Like my friend that called me out and said, let's give it a year and then let's go, went to the doctor with me. Now, he's not a doctor. He didn't have an answer, but he had the courage and cared enough about me to have a posture. I love you, Joe. I care about you. And the purpose is I want to see you live. And this guy is 20 years older than me. And he's like, I think I'm going to bury you before you bury me. And he doesn't want that to happen. And that changes everything. I'm eternally grateful for that. My family benefits from that. And I'm better for it. And I just think we need people that are take the posture and have the purpose and just do it.
Mm-hmm. Why are you saying it, and how are you saying it?
Yeah. I mean, if you're just going to be mean, then be silent. But if you care, that's going to come through. Mm-hmm. That's going to come through.
All right, and Pastor Joe, our last question for you is our favorite question.
Oh man, here we go. Let me get positioned. Here we go.
What is one thing you wish you would have known sooner?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
The thing I wish I would have known sooner was how bad I was off course. Because you can be 1 or 2 degrees off course, and in the beginning you don't notice that, but you get miles and thousands of miles down the road, and you are miles apart from where you're supposed to be and where you could be. And I wish I would have known sooner that I could have asked for help, and that's not weakness, that's courage, and that it's okay to face difficult news or the reality of where you are, because getting a temperature meeting is not the end of it. It's the beginning of change. That's what I wish I would have known sooner.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. This was so beautiful and moving. Whole time I've been choking back tears because I feel like this conversation is the kind that sets people free in so many ways. I just keep thinking about addiction and people that have never even heard about Jesus, right? Or a million different things that you said, giving you hope, giving you ideas. Just thinking about this time of year is so tough for people's mental health. There's suicide everywhere. And I just feel like hope is really important to cling to right now. however you can do it, and that people have access to now, that your name is a part of our mission, is going to be life-changing for so many people. So thank you for sitting with us and coming here in the winter wonderland that we live in. We appreciate you being here so much.
Well, it is a true pleasure to be here, and I'm become a big fan of what you're doing because you're taking a very real and raw approach to talking about difficult challenges, and very few people are doing that. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to be famous, but I believe that what you're accomplishing in your podcast is to make a difference, and I think that that's what adds value to people's lives. And so it's an honor that you asked me, and I count it as a huge blessing to get to spend time with you and spend time with your audience. And so I can't applaud you enough. And I just want to applaud your audience because you're doing the hard work. You're taking time to focus on something that's going to help you be better. And you've made a decision that you're not going to stay where you are and you're not going to settle, but you're going to believe that there's something better. And I just want to say the best is yet to come. And so thank you so much for everything that you're doing. This is a great, great honor and a privilege.
We can't tell you how much those words mean to us. Thank you. Thank you. And we want to hear more from you. We leave our listeners with a quote, a piece of gold that speaks to you. Would you like to leave yours with our audience?
Yeah, I would. Well, I'm gonna use the words that God gives. My very favorite verse in the Bible. This comes from the Message. So there's translations and there's paraphrases. Okay, so this is written in modern day English where most people can understand it. But in Ephesians 3:20. It says, God can do anything, far more than you could ever imagine or hope or dream. But he does it by not by pushing us around, but by gently leading us with his Spirit. And I love that because I believe that God can do anything if we're willing to let him lead in our life. And he's not trying to push us, but he's trying to pull us along and lead us to something better than we ever imagined.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold.